Hey y'all, so in this video I'm going to show you guys the installation of a CB radio in Project Gus Gus. For the June 12th event we're looking at, I wanted to have some type of comms in the Jeep. I didn't want to go with just cell phones. Obviously once you get up in the mountains, cell phone signal is limited. So that being said, I just said I'm going to mount the CB radio up between the sun visors, and then I'm going to put the CB antenna on the back passenger side or driver's side. I really want it on the driver's side, but I gotta look back there and see if there's any electronics on the way, because the one thing that can interfere with your signal is electronic noise, road noise, or engine noise, etc. So let me get started on mounting up the radio and we'll go from there. Alright, so as I was telling you in the intro, we're going to be putting a CB in the truck. I mean, this one, bracket's a little bent, but this is what holds my uniden CD, or CB. The reason it's tweaked is it was in my last truck when I rolled it. So, that being said, I straightened it out as best I could, and I probably could put it on a block of wood and hammer it out better, which I might do. But when you're installing your radio, you want to find the location point of where you're putting your antenna and your radio, and mark it thorough. So you guys can see the marks. So this is going to sit up here like this. Hold on, guys. Like that. Now you wonder why I marked the bracket. To clarify, I marked it so it lines up with this hole, so I could center my bracket right off of here. Now if you guys look closely, hard to see, I center punched each one of these marks. That way all I got to do is drill through it. Now we're going to take, I got a 5/16 drill bit, and my game plan is, once I get that up there, since I don't know how deep it is, I'm going to use some nutserts. I have, let's see here, so guys, I got some M6 nutserts, and we're going to put those in there, so that way it can secure up to the ceiling. And they're roughly a 5/16. I measured with a tape measure, so I've got my drill bit. And we're going to just mark it and drill it. Let me start this and I'll show you guys. So you guys can see I got the hole drilled. Now the other good thing is with this, you can tell almost how deep the metal is here and how much you have before you poke all the way through. Looks like I got a couple inches up there. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take my nutsert, I'm going to test fit it in the hole and make sure it fits properly. I used a tape measure to measure it, to give me the rough width of it, so hopefully we didn't go too big. So this is the hole I made with a 5/16 drill bit to try to fit my nutsert into. And the reason I did a test hole, I wasn't sure how deep this channel went before I hit the ceiling or the sheet metal and ended up outside. It's deep enough for me to use my step bit to step it out further. I just got to be really cautious not to go too deep or else I'll poke through the roof. So what I'm going to do is grab that step bit and drill it out a little bit more, and then show you guys the nutsert install. Okay, so we stepped that out just big enough to fit the nutsert in tight. And you guys can see how snug that fits in there. I'm going to thread my nutsert tool into this. It's going to thread in like this. We'll tighten that in there, and then we'll squeeze the tool together, and what it'll do is expand the nutsert into the sheet metal. So yesterday I was showing you guys how to put a nutsert in using the nutsert tool. My nutsert tool broke, cheap tools. So there's a backup plan. You could take a bolt, stack an oversized nut on it, or put an oversized nut on it, and use that to squish the nutsert down. I'll show you guys what I'm using. I'm using an M6 nutserts. I found an old fender bolt off one of my Explorers that's an M6 bolt. And then I found an oversized nut. And let me show you that assembly and a different way to do it if you guys don't have a nutsert tool. Okay, so we have an M6 bolt. We have a slightly larger nut than what the bolt would take, so it slides through. Like so. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to do this one-handed. Like this. Now the reason for this is to work as a spacer, so when you tighten it on your nutsert, it squishes the nutsert So we're going to take the nut cert, and let me pause this and I'll get right back with you guys. Sorry guys, some things require 2 hands. So you're going to thread this on, like so. Now the goal is to insert this into your hole, the nut cert part right here. And then you're going to hold this nut with a pair of needle nose vice grips, pair of any vice grips that are small enough to hold it, or large enough to hold what you're trying to do. And then you're going to take a socket and a ratchet and tighten this down until it mushrooms this inside the hole, just like your nut cert tool would. Simple enough. If you guys have bigger nut certs, some of you guys could even use a larger bolt with a larger spacer. I test this one out up here, and you guys can see it fits. So what I'm going to do is take this, put it up in there, and then we'll tighten this up with a ratchet. So give me a second, I'm going to get a pair of vice grips on this, and I'll show you guys what I'm doing. So I have this started already, just for simplicity's sake to show you guys. You can see this is mounted on the nut, and it spins freely. So what I do is, if you're doing this overhead, you want to push up to hold it flush. That way you can tighten it. Now, I'm going to try to do this while holding on to it. Sorry for the close-up view, guys. But you're going to tighten it. Oh, I can't do this one-handed, guys. Let me show you guys. You're going to want to hold it, back it out, and then mount your bracket up in where you're going. Let me get the bracket up and I'll show you guys. Okay, so you can see we have the nut certs in, and since I have these bolts from my old fenders, I'm just going to use them. They have a washer built into them, so it should hold the CB up nicely. We'll adjust it to clear the wires, and then we'll put the radio in, and then we'll run wires and mount the CB antenna, which you guys will get to see, because we have this nifty little flush mount unit from Firestik that I had bought for another project and found in my garage. So let me get this tightened up and I'll show you guys what it looks like. So here's the mount installed, and it actually worked in my favor using the fender bolts, because the washers seem to add a little more security to it. I mean, it's not going anywhere. So when I get home, we'll get the CB put up there. Got to make a ground wire, probably somewhere, maybe pre-existing holes. Using pre-existing holes, pardon me, kind of slurred that up. And then we'll run the hot wire up through and out of the way. And we're going to probably chase it down this side. Originally, we were going to put the CB antenna on the driver's side, but I noticed where I want to mount it, there was a bunch of electrical wires and it was like a little module or something. And anybody knows anything about CBs is you want to run it clear away from electrical as best you can to keep interference down. So what I'll end up doing is, this is just tucked up, this is a dome light wire. I'm just going to run this back up in here somewhere and get rid of it for the while. And then we're going to run the CB wire, or antenna wire, down through here. So we'll finish this video up here in a few. So here's the radio mounted up. You guys can see I still have to do my actual hard wire, my antenna running. This is the ground wire. I'm going to keep it short and sweet, put it right where I need to do it. Sorry guys, get my hand out of the way and get the camera in. We're going to go as short as possible and get it right where it needs to be. The hot wire, I'm probably going to run down the driver's side A-pillar. It all depends on which way I end up mounting the antenna. I want to keep my hot wire away from my antenna cable, because I don't want the engine noise to come back feed through that. So once I figure out the wiring and where the antenna is going, then we'll get everything situated. Right now it's looking like the antenna is going to have to go on the passenger side, simply for the fact that I have a bunch of electronics on the driver's side rear interior space. So let me get this ground going and I'll show you guys what I'm going to do, and then we'll go from there. We're going to have a little bit of background noise, the boys are playing in the Jeep, but so looking at how this sets up, this sits in there like this, insulated against the body, or from the grounding out to the body. Then you got this bit larger stud here and the smaller stud here, and they're going to sit, this is going to sit here like this, and then you're going to have the insulator on the inside to keep it tight and to prevent it from grounding out to the body. So I'm going to go ahead and mount it up. We're going to get the wires going. There's a wire that sends a signal and a ground to the body on the inside, and I'll show you that cable here in a second. So here's your true terminal wire. Apologize for the background noise, the boys are playing in the Jeep. This fits on here like this, and then this slides over and tightens up. That way you can get your signal without a ground, and that's where the insulator comes in handy. So here's the inside of the antenna bracket. The black wire is the ground, and the white wire or clear wire is the signal. Now, I wanted to keep it from any noise, so you can see where I tucked the cable behind, and I took the factory insulation and put it between the antenna cable and the radio wiring. I just tucked it underneath the carpet so it clears all the factory. And since I don't have any interior in here, it'll all pull tight once I get the trim panels back in. We'll clean it all up better. But you guys, oops, sorry guys. You guys can see it runs all the way up to the radio. That part up front will probably be finalized. Probably get one more zip tie and hug it right tight to the radio. I'll get up there and show you. But here we have the mount. Let me see if I can get enough clearance. My garage is a mess, you guys. Not exactly my proudest thing, but now, according to Firestick, if you have to loop your antenna cable, you should do so in about a 12-inch diameter loop. And then see how you get this right here, this quicker section of wrap. You want that above your roof line. The Jeep worked out perfect with how I mounted it. It starts right above the roof. This is a tunable tip. If I could reach it, I would pull it down. You're going to want to get an SWR meter to fine tune it all. I still got to run the wire to the battery, so that's to come. You can see the interior trim piece is going to fit back in its stock location. I still have to get the interior upper pieces back in, but I have yet to decide what I'm doing about my speakers. So let me walk myself around to the front and I'll show you guys how I did the cable up there. I mean, you guys can kind of see here. This will all get pulled tight and cleaned up. Once we put the trim panels in, you won't notice it. So let's go to the front, and I'll show you guys that. Now I'm going to clean all this up. Like I said, this is just how it sits for now. I got to probably get some, they make like clamps that you can sheet metal screw in and run the wire through. But it's just zip tied for now until I get the whole interior in. And then when we come back up here to the front, sorry guys, I still got to connect my positive wire. I got to figure out the best way to run that under the hood without interfering with anything and picking up extra noise. So that'll be the last phase of this install. So let me get to that and I'll show you guys what I end up doing. For the radio wire, I'm going to take a positive, just come right off the positive nut here, bolt here, because I've already got accessories coming off the hot stud here and I don't want any noise. So I'm thinking I'm going to come off the terminal and I'm going to kind of route it the long way, but try to stay away from any of the electronics because you have a boatload of crap back there. So we're going to kind of come around, and I think I'm going to tuck it tight and under here. And I've got some wire loom and stuff, so we'll see how that holds up. And we're going to kind of go the long way around to the front of the Jeep over there. My only concern is having computer here, so that might change my route run. I might also be able to go high above everything off the battery and then go up and around this stuff. If there wasn't so much crap on the passenger side floor, I would just cut through the floor. So we'll see where I go with this. This is going to be interesting, guys. When you guys mount electronics, and you guys can see I have a nightmare of wires that I still need to clean up and crap. When you start routing wires, you guys got to start thinking of how everything wants to run. And I didn't initially plan on putting a CB in this, but things change. Well, you guys, I always tell you all to plan things out, and yet I failed to. I thought I had a weatherproof fuse holder laying around, and I don't. So to get the CB working, I'm going to take a couple connectors and just slide them on the end of a fuse so they hold for now, get it wired up and working, and then I'll go ahead and rewire it when I get the correct stuff. I'm going to leave a decent length of wire so I can just cut and splice and cut and solder the weather tight connection in. These things right here are like what I'm using for my off-road lights, which will be in another video. Yeah, piss poor planning. Sorry guys, I'll show you guys how I'm going to rig it for now and get it working, and we'll go from there. So for now, we just use a couple connectors and a fuse to wire up the CB, make sure it works. I wasn't sure if the CB was going to work because it survived a rollover in my last truck. So that being said, I know my electrical is a nightmare right now. This is just temporary to get us going for a trail run on Saturday. I want to make sure I have my CB working so I can communicate. The other one's off-road lights just in case we get stuck out there after dark. This is what is eventually going to go in here. It's a fuse block setup with a bus bar for like the ground. So you can run multiple grounds off of it for your electronics. And it's got an idiot-proof fuse, so when the fuse pops, the light goes on. It's got a main terminal. I just haven't figured out where I'm going to put this in this Jeep because I don't have enough space in it like I did in my Explorer. Eventually we're going to get creative. We'll figure out a mounting system for relays and stuff. And you could buy something from Rough Country or a few other places that are pre-wired switches. I just don't care to. I like making my own stuff. So for right now, everything's pretty much wired up underneath. It's a nightmare. And these go to my lights. That'll be another video coming up shortly. Let me show you guys the radio inside. And currently, you guys can see the antenna's not on the truck, so the radio's not going to work, but I wanted to at least show you guys what I did and how it works. We're going to clean everything up when the interior comes together. So like I was saying, this will all get cleaned up once I put the interior together. I'm going to get the wiring cleaned up once I figure out how to make a bracket for my fuse and where exactly it's going to mount. I got 4 days to get this thing halfway decent so I could take it up on a trail run with some Ford Explorer guys. I still haven't even got to put my Novak conversion kit in it for the wiring or anything. So it's going to be a mad dash over the next couple days. I'll get you guys a video of that going on in probably tonight, maybe tomorrow. I'll try getting it recorded. And then I just got word from HK Off-Road that my tire carrier shipped. It should be here Friday. So I might be pulling it all, at least the late night or that night, trying to get the spare tire mounted up. So let me make sure this radio turns on and we'll go from there. Alright, so we're sitting here, this turns on. Now like I stated, kind of hard to see, but it ain't gonna work in the garage, but we have power to it. What we're gonna have to do is get the antenna on and get it outside and see how the reception works. Eventually I'm gonna have to find somebody with an SWR meter and we're gonna have to tune it. I've got a firestik 2 3-foot antenna. I traded my 2-foot antenna for firestik flush mount and then a uniden radio. The radio was like 20 bucks back when I bought it 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago now. It's been sitting on a shelf since I rolled the Explorer. Didn't even want to put it in this really, but I kind of realized that if I plan to wheel with folks, I ought to have a way to communicate with them. So once again, y'all, thanks for watching. God bless y'all. Have a good day.